Okay.
Like a garage. It's kind of boring. Movies. I don't know why I didn't watch them, but I did. So I got 3 movies.
Good morning. Welcome to the January 2nd, 2019 Technical Review Committee meeting. Happy New Year to everyone. Thanks for everyone remembering that we do have this early this morning, including myself. We have minutes from the September 5, 2018 meeting for consideration of approval this morning. Do we have any corrections to those minutes from anyone? Hearing none, do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Sammy, do we have a second?
Second.
Had a second? No, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed likewise? Our minutes stand approved. Do we have any announcements this morning, Karen? Let's move right into project review. The first item on our agenda this morning is the Greenway Station Technical Review. It's a major development reviewed by Tim Brown. Tim, if you could briefly introduce it for us.
Yes, good morning. Happy New Year. This item was continued from our last meeting. This was previously approved as a conceptual PUD. Now we're doing the technical review. It's a request to develop 35 condominiums, 36,302 square feet of commercial, and a 50-unit lodge on 4.69 acres with a future land use of village mixed use and neighborhood infill. It's located on the north side of County Road 30A, 0.35 miles east of the Eastern Lake Drive and County Road 38 intersection. We have comments from planning, environmental, engineering, and public works. I'll let Charlie address the public works comments, and I'll turn it over to the applicant.
Good morning, Peter Burgess, Government Coast Associates. We read through the comments and feel like we can respond to them in a timely manner. We asked to be on the next available planning commission meeting following the complete review of the comments. I guess the most significant comment was Public Works. We had a discussion with them to alter our access road, if you will, that has parallel parking from the development. The only thing I wanted to be clear that it would require is that we ask for one more PUD deviation to locate our landscape buffer in the public right of way to allow the sidewalk to be right against the property line, or actually inside the property line. Staff didn't have concern with that. We submit that additional.
Do you mind going up there, that microphone, so Karen?
That's there, all over. We would just ask that if staff had any concern or comment on the relocation of landscape buffer within the right-of-way. What it does is, in short, we've got two 5-foot sidewalks that run parallel to each other. One is our promenade through the front of the development. The other is a sidewalk along 30A by the parking. And what we discussed with Public Works is combine the two of those into one 10-foot or larger sidewalk that would be right along, co-located with our promenade, with the parking immediately adjacent to that, which puts our parking just inside of the right-of-way and partially on the property. That would put our landscape buffer out in the right-of-way, but it provides for a larger single buffer rather than two chopped up buffer areas.
We're proposing to amend the conceptual to, or I guess we're gonna have to go back and ask for deviation from BCC.
There would be this one added deviation.
Okay.
So essentially the buffer would be between the 30A travel lane and the parking, and it would be larger, is what you're saying?
It would be between the 30A travel lane and the
And your access road.
the service road, if you
Service.
will, correct. And that would allow, the purpose of that wider area allows for a vehicle to stage in there in the event they're trying to access 30A.
As it is right now, that area is only about 6 feet wide. That would allow for a wider area for a vehicle to stage up in there.
Mac, that request was made by Traffic Operations Engineer Chance Powell.
Okay. So Public Works is supporting that.
That's correct.
Yeah, I'd just like to look at it more in detail than our 8.5 by 11 at some point later this week, maybe.
We've already got it drawn up. What I can do is send that to Tim and you, copy you on that, and just see if y'all had any concerns or comments.
Okay.
All right.
Have any other questions from the dais?
Thank you.
There will be public hearings at the Planning Commission and the Board of County Commissioners for this major development. We'll take the opportunity to invite any technical questions or comments from any member of the audience at this time. Seeing none, we'll move forward with recommended motion.
Does engineering and public works think this can move on?
No, I think the engineering comments are general in nature. Some clarity issues, I think Dean will be able to address those prior to planning.
Agreed, Public Works feels the same way.
Okay, then my suggested motion is to approve the project pending resolution of all outstanding issues and comments and move it forward to the planning commission.
Got a recommended motion. Do we have a motion at the dais?
So moved.
Have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed likewise? Motion carries. This will move forward, subject to satisfaction of outstanding comments.
When is that planning commission meeting?
Will be in February. Yeah. Second Thursday. Next item is the Rosa Dune, development. It's been reviewed by Tim Brown, minor development. Tim, if you could briefly introduce it for us.
Yes, there was confusion on staff's part about exactly what this request was. What's in the agenda is what we thought the request was. However, that's really not what it is. It's basically a restoration plan, so I renamed it Rosa Dune Restoration. It's a minor development requesting approval to restore the previously cleared preservation for the site on 0.74 acres with a future land use of residential in the zoning category of neighborhood infill. It's located at the northeast corner of County Road 38 and Rue du Soleil. There are outstanding comments from planning, engineering, environmental, and public works. Some of those comments are for the 33-foot roadway and public utilities right-of-way that's shown on the survey. However, they have indicated to us, and I've asked them to provide the documentation, that that right-of-way was abandoned in 2005. So with that, I'll turn it over to the applicant.
Thank you, Tim.
Gerald Barnhill with ECM representing the applicant. This is this project started in 2005. I know Mr. Carpenter knows that. Then it reemerged in 2008. Then it reemerged in 2013. And now here we are again. Back in 2008, we had Bryce Nist, a local PE, review all the infrastructure in place, and he certified to the DEP that was built in accordance with the development order. Then in 2013, we had another PE review it, certified to the county that it was built in accordance with the plans. And then we've got the DEP approval where we sent all that out. So somehow or another there was confusion over the issue of what we're asking for. We're asking not to go down the route again of reviewing the plans because everything's already built in place, certify that it's built in place. We're asking this morning you to either approve or approve with conditions or not approve the landscape architect's restoration plan. Then after he completes that, your approval, then the surveyor will apply for a plat. But the purpose of this meeting, as I thought in discussing with Tim Brown, was to approve with condition the landscape architect's plan. And so and I don't believe the engineer, I was discussing with the engineer earlier, I don't believe that he was aware that all the infrastructure is in place and inspected and certified and approved by the regional utilities and by the DEP. So I believe that's where we're at. We're asking for the landscape design restoration plan. If you have any questions, I'll answer them. And that has been already submitted to the staff, the restoration plan, by landscape architect.
And Mac, I will add, my first comment is to provide a narrative. I really wasn't sure what the intent, or if they were changing any of the previously approved plans, plats. Survey was kind of vague, and narrative, so most of these comments would have been addressed during the initial development order process. And I just was asking for a bunch of that information to be added to a site table so we know, and or provide the previously approved set of plans.
Okay.
Just so I know, one, for stormwater, how much was allotted for each of these parcels, because they could max out their building square footage, or footprint, and that may exceed what the stormwater exfiltration system was designed for. So I just wanted some clarity.
Well, we can find those old set of approved plans in 2005, and we got the accompanying development order. But as most of you know, in 2005, the development order process was a half a page. It was very minimal.
I think this one has more than a half a page of a development order.
Think so?
Yeah, it's not on the old NCR form.
It's one of those one-pagers. I
One
found.
pagers, yeah. That's what Tim and I came up with, the one pagers.
I have a question.
Yes.
There's two different plans in here. The landscape plan does not envision moving the mechanical equipment out of the landscape buffer. However, there's a page right before it that shows it being moved out.
Those have been moved out.
Then the restoration plan needs to be approved, subject to moving that out as shown
Yes,
on the previous page.
Yes, sir.
This development has a long and storied life, including banks fighting with each other over
Yeah.
components of the project.
Well, please help me get that off the table for 18 years or so. But, I'll be glad to answer.
Yes, sir.
questions you got.
Mr. Chair, this is the first step. This is the placing the preservation for the whole properties. And then he has to get a new DO for the other proposed uses. What he's shown there is that one existing home. There's other lots there that need to be approved, but we decided, you and I decided that this was the first step, that he had to do the restoration plan for the whole property, and then move forward with a new DO to get the rest of the parcels.
I don't understand that comment. You'll have to explain that to me.
I'm not sure we're at the point of having to reapprove the entire project, because there was litigation related to foreclosure and the hostile occupancy of this particular house by the previous developer. So it's got a long history of litigation, and if we've got litigation related to the approval of a particular development, in this particular case, the final platting of this development, time is told. So I'm not sure that we have to completely start over. However, we do have to make sure that we can finally approve it, and having the mechanical equipment and the landscape buffer was one of the things holding us up.
Yes,
This project did sit for a long time, the landscaping was not maintained, it disappeared, and all the utility infrastructure appeared to have been installed, years ago, but all of that required recertification, and that may have happened by now. But I think that's probably where we are on this particular project.
In the pre-application meeting, we came to an agreement with Bob that this process would be, once we had an approved landscape plan, preservation plan, restoring it, that the county would come out and inspect it, and once they agreed that it had been restored as they wanted to see it, we would then get the development order. So we're willing to, if you know, if you can now say, we need to move that tree 5 feet, we move the tree, then you give us development order. I mean, so we're really just trying to get everything right. The owner, I had to make clear to him that we cannot put palm trees and that had to restore to 38 hands.
that was a big issue.
Yeah, I think that's where we are on this particular one.
Yes, sir.
I mean, there was some discussion at one time of reconfiguring the whole site, and then I think we came back to, let's see if we can get this approved as the way it was originally presented.
Yes, sir. Nothing has changed since you and I had that discussion.
So I think this one is essentially approving the revised landscape plan
Yes, sir.
and
That's
the
what we're asking.
relocation of those encroachments out of the landscape buffer.
Yes, sir. That's what we're asking.
There is a buyout provision to make sure the house and the front wall and the road is, I think, about 3 square feet on each one. So we will have a buyout of that. But that's part of the reason for the name, for the minor DO, is to identify that.
And there was an exhibit in the site plan showing that.
We discovered, as Mr. Taldy said, we discovered during a survey that a person's house was built partly into the buffer. And so, as we understand, that's going to have to be bought out. I mean, it was certainly not planned that way, but it's still required, as we understand, by ordinance and rule to buy that portion out.
Let's make sure under our current rules, we can actually allow that encroachment.
All right?
Do we have a recommended motion?
Yes, recommend approval of the project pending resolution of all outstanding issues, comments, and move it forward to the development order stage.
Back, do we clarify that this approval, if the board so chooses, is strictly for the restoration and the movement of the mechanical equipment and not the current comments that are listed?
Well, that's what's in the staff report. I got requesting approval to restore the previously cleared preservation for the site. And I got it, named it Rosa Dune Restoration. So don't look at what the agenda says.
That'll be addressed as part of the resolution of the comments. But thank you for the clarification. We have a recommended motion. Do we have a motion at the dais?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? This is a minor development. We'll take the opportunity to open a public hearing. Is there anyone that wishes to make a public comment regarding this particular development? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. We have a motion on the table. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed likewise? Hearing none, motion carried. That brings us to item number 3, the District 30A. It's a minor development reviewed by Tim Brown. Tim, if you could briefly introduce this one for us.
Yes, thank you. This is a minor development order requesting approval to create an out parcel for a bank and shift around some of the previously approved apartment units on 28.25 acres with the future land use of residential and zoning of neighborhood infill. It's located on the east side of County Road 393 South, north of Rena Arnett Lane, and south of Shannon Lane. We do have outstanding planning, and it looks like planning and public works are the only outstanding comments. Does not look like Mark Steiner from Choctaw Engineering is here. But the comments are relatively minor, so I don't see any issues with holding it up. But the main thing is to cut out that 1 acre parcel for the future bank. Future proposed bank.
And there's adequate uplands for the bank site?
I'm sorry, Mac?
Adequate uplands for the bank site? Since this
Yeah, it's a
parcel's
small,
largely
it's a
wet.
small upland there. I'm assuming that's why they picked that location, because there is a small upland within that 1 acre parcel, and I'm assuming, they didn't provide a plan, but I'm assuming the bank's gonna go onto that upland. Nothing changed with the apartments, other than they wanna shift it around a little bit, the number and everything else, none of that changed.
Well, certainly the bank would require its own development order, but this one has to be modified to actually remove the parcel, and that, from what I understand, is what's before us this morning.
Yes, that's correct.
The movement of the apartment buildings, is there any issue with that?
Not that I can see, no. Everything's still within the uplands, and they're still maintaining the wetland buffer and everything. I think what they're shifting around is some of the garages.
Yeah, I think there was a smaller building on the south side, so a total of 3 units, and I think they put them above the pool building, is what I think, I remember Mark explaining to me. But the number of units hasn't changed.
Okay.
Impervious area stays the same. And just to speak to the culvert comment that Public Works had during the original C30A review, we looked at the conveyance of that, and it meets the upstream flows.
Okay. Any further questions from the dais? This is a minor development, so we'll take the opportunity to open a public hearing. Any questions or comments from any member of the audience? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. We have a recommended motion.
Yes, recommend approval of the project pending resolution of all outstanding issues / comments, and move it forward to the development order stage.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed likewise? Motion is approved, subject to satisfaction of outstanding comments. That moves us to item number 4, District 2 Commissioner's Office Trailer. Request approved by minor development. It's been reviewed by Renee Bradley. Renee, can you briefly introduce that for us?
Good morning. This is a public works project, requesting approval for 896 square foot trailer. The trailer's going to be located out on Triple G Road north of Defuniak Springs. Staff really didn't have any outstanding comments on this project, nor do we have any engineering or public works comments. Charlie, I don't know if you're gonna represent the county as far as this goes. We do, of course, have our standard condition of needing NPDES permit. This being 10-point-something acres, I'm not sure that that's actually even needed at this point. But, that's all I have for you on that one.
Thank you, Renee. It's a minor development. We'll take the opportunity to open up the public hearing. Anyone in the audience wish to make a comment or ask a question regarding this particular development? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Do we have a recommended motion?
I recommend we move this project forward to the development order stage. Once no comments are here, so we can start writing the development order for it.
Thank you. We got a recommended motion. We have a motion at the dais.
We will motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve. We have a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Any opposed likewise? This item is approved to move forward to development order. Thank you, Renee. That brings us to item number 5, the watercolor phase 5, major development reviewed by Renee Bradley. If you can briefly introduce this one, Renee.
This is a request from St. Joe Company for 41 single-family lots on approximately 23 acres with a future land use of mixed use and zoning in coastal center. Project's located on County Road 395 to the west of Forest Lake Drive. It's on the north side of the road, and it's identified by the parcel number in your packet. This project is still pending engineering review. We thought that Public Works was gonna pick this project up and found out late Thursday that that's not the case. So we've been requested to get someone in our department to review this for engineering. Planning comments are minor. There's nothing I see any issue being resolved. And I believe we're still pending fire on this one. So I can turn it over to the applicant.
Good morning.
Morning. I'm Jeff Britton, Dewberry. We reviewed the comments. We don't see anything major in there. We plan on just working with staff to resolve them. And I'm here to answer any other questions you guys might have.
Well, given we have no engineering review comments on this one, I don't think we can move it forward this morning.
Okay.
So Mac, I need you to assign someone to do this project for engineering, please.
We'll do that later this morning. We need a motion to continue to the February TRC.
Yes, sir. That would be my recommended motion.
And what we will see if we can do is also schedule this for February Planning Commission. If we can get a prompt review and get prompt resolution of comments and time to get the reports completed so we can stay on schedule with this particular development.
All right. Appreciate it.
We'll do our best to accomplish that for you. Thank you.
Could we have a motion to continue this to the February, let's see, what's our date? February 6th?
Motion to continue?
We have a motion to continue to February 6th at 8:30 a.m. in this location. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed likewise? This item will continue to the February TRC. Thank you. That brings us to item number 6, the Camp Creek Residential. Major development reviewed by Renee Bradley. You can briefly introduce it for us, Renee.
Yes, sir. This is a project being done by Kenley Horn on behalf, excuse me, of St. Joe Company to develop 262 single-family lots on approximately 330.81 acres of future land use of village center, long-term conservation, and zoning of village center and long-term conservation. The project's located west on US Highway 98, south on Watersound Parkway. Project's on your left and identified by the parcel numbers in your packet. There is, a few engineering comments as well. It appears that we have, a few environmentals also and some flood zone comments on this project. I don't think the planning staff's comments is anything to hold this up. There was some question about this project going to the design review board. Tim has looked at this and, the question was if it being a residential project, would that be required, being it's single family? And if not, we can, waive that requirement and just do the landscape buffer as required by the scenic corridor. But this project is within that 400-foot scenic corridor buffer. And that's all I have for you, sir, at this time. We turn it over to the applicant.
Thank you, Renee.
Brendan Clayton, Kimley Horn. As Renee said, there's comments. I've reviewed the comments. We think that we can address these comments and work with staff to address them. We would ask for a conditional approval, and I'm here to answer any questions that y'all might have.
Mac, I know there's a lot of engineering comments, and I think a lot of them are clarity. A lot of them are plan revisions, not necessarily calculation revisions. So I don't think those would be any kind of timely revisions. So by the looks of it, it appears that there's a lot to address, but I think just going through them, I think the applicant will be able to address those prior to the planning commission.
I would agree.
Any other questions from the dais? It's a major development. It'll get a public hearing at the Planning Commission and Board of County Commissioners. We'll take the opportunity to invite any technical questions or comments from any member of the audience at this time. Would anyone like to make a comment or ask a technical question? Seeing none, we'll close that part of the meeting. Do we have a recommended motion?
Recommended motion, sir, be conditionally approved and move this project forward to the planning commission once all comments have been resolved.
And confirmation of scenic corridor applicability.
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Renee. We have a recommended motion. Do we have a motion at the dais?
So moved.
Have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further comments or questions? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed likewise? This item is moved forward conditionally, subject to outstanding comments and resolving the scenic corridor question. Thank you. That brings us to item number 7, Kaya, the studio. Request to approve by minor development order. It's been reviewed by Bob Barati. Bob, if you could be briefly introduced.
I did. It's me.
Renee, can you briefly review it on behalf of Bob? Thank you.
Yes, sir. This is a minor development order application submitted by Jenkins Engineering on the behalf of SVG PR LLC requesting approval to develop 1,865 square foot of sales center on 0.39 plus or minus acres. The current future land use traditional neighborhood development. The project's identified by the number in your project. I would like to note that the ad is incorrect at 3,800 square feet. But being this project is less than that, I feel like we shouldn't have an issue. Additionally, staff has a few comments on this project. Our major comment being on this project, we don't feel like this project meets the master plan. It appears that the building layout and the road layouts and things in the master plan has changed. I was a little bit concerned in the way the traffic read that it said new trips instead of being a drawdown from the master plan. I tried to talk with Scott about this a little bit, and he has actually submitted a separate plan that relates to the project more than just a copy of the revised master plan. So I'm kind of looking for some guidance from the committee to whether we need to hold this project up and continue it, depending on the master plan revision, or if we can move it forward and, work through these issues. As far as other comments, there is, a few, I believe, as I get through this. Doesn't seem to be any major project, comments from engineering, other than it, where the staging and things like that are going to be, and how the, exfiltration system is working on this. So I can turn it over to the applicant at this time.
Thank you, Renee.
Jeremy Eubanks with Jenkins Engineering. I talked to Scott this morning. He's fully intending to continue this project to address these items. So unless something's changed since then, that was the direction I was given.
You're okay with continuing?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, sir. We'll entertain a motion to continue to the February sixth Technical Review Committee. Give the applicant more time to address comments.
Thank you.
Do we have a motion at the dais?
Make a motion to continue this project to the February TRC meeting.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed likewise? This item is continued to the February sixth Technical Review Committee meeting at 8:30 a.m. in this location. That brings us to item number 8, the Brewers Landscape Services, minor development order application, reviewed by Bob Barante, and Renee will be, responding on Bob's behalf here.
Won't be Bob today.
Could you briefly introduce this one for us?
Yes, sir. This is a project reviewed by Jenkins Engineering, on behalf of Jonathan Brewer, requesting approval for 364 square foot landscape and plant nursery on 1.7 plus or minus acres. Project's located off Highway 20 at the intersection of Ben King Road, and the land use for this project was Rural Village. Staff has quite a few comments on this project. I had some concerns about what is actually existing out there. I wasn't clear, from the existing conditions of what we reviewed to what's actually there and what they're actually placing out there now. I also had some concerns about whether they needed to meet the 25-foot landscape buffer from the industrial land uses that's surrounding them. It appears that the engineering comments are pretty minor. And I can turn it over to the applicant.
Yeah, looking at the comments for the first time, I don't see anything that we can't timely address. A lot of clarification type items, but nothing that appears to be impact the design that I see. I just asked to move forward. It's minor DO unless anyone has any concerns that would limit that.
Okay, thank you, Jamie. This is a minor development. We'll take the opportunity to open a public hearing. Anyone wishing to make a comment or ask a question related to this particular development? Tim or Bob? Thank you. We'll close the public hearing for lack of participants. We have a recommended motion.
My first thought on this project, sir, was to continue it for the fact that we really are not sure exactly what's existing and what they're proposing to be in the landscape buffers. And if they feel as though they can come back here and meet all the questions that we've asked in staff comments, then you know, I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt for that. So if you can see what my comments are, if you feel like they can meet that and turn it around. It's a minor development order, it's a very small project. as long as they can meet all their buffers and everything, I'd be willing to move it forward.
Jamie, your thoughts?
Honestly, Mac, I'm not too familiar with this project. It's one Scott worked on, but, looking at it, obviously there may be a few clarity things, but, it's something we'd work with Renee directly on anyhow, or Bob, whoever comes back to look at it. So it's something we would address even before we came back to a continued TRC, since it's a minor.
It is a minor development. It looks like a fairly small project, that issues could be resolved at staff level.
I would like to add one thing, sir, is that the traffic circulation for this project is one of our major concerns, so if you would, be sure that y'all work on that so that we can see how this traffic circulation is going to be. With that said, sir, my recommended motion would be to go ahead and move it forward to the development order stage once comments have been met.
Thank you. We got a recommended motion. We have a motion at the dais.
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Any opposed likewise? Hearing none, this item is approved to move forward, subject to satisfaction of outstanding staff comments and concerns. That'll move us to item number 9, the South Walton Church of Christ, requested approved by development order. This is a minor development, reviewed by Bob Barante, and most likely,
We switched on you.
we have a substitute for Bob. Good morning, Kelly.
Good morning. This project is a minor development order application submitted by Jenkins Engineering on behalf of South Walton Church of Christ to develop a 4,994 square foot church building and associated parking. The property is located in a conservation residential 2-to-1 zoning district. This parcel recently underwent a lot split, and there was some confusion on behalf of the staff as to whether both parcels or just one parcel were being considered in the development order. Some of the site data indicated the full 10 acres, and some of the site data indicated just what they're calling parcel A with a little less than 5 acres. So some clarification would be needed on that particular item, and then making sure all of the site data is consistent with whichever parcel acreage they went. One of the concerns that we did have is making sure that we were within the 60-40 percentile for open space that comes with this district, and how that is accounted for if it's just the one parcel, parcel A. There are a few other staff comments with planning and engineering and public works, but I feel like most of it is just clarification, as long as we can kind of understand the parameters with the site data. The only other piece was just making sure we understood some of the parking lot circulation. It appears that there may be a parking lot stub out to what would be parcel B, which is a dirt driveway right now. And if that was the case, was the intention to have a separate entrance for the church off of that access. So those are really the biggest components of the review here. So, the applicant is here.
To echo what Kelly said, I think most everything is clarification. To be a little more specific, we've spoke to the developer kind of at length about this 60-40 conservation issue, and that is actually the intention, and it should have been a little clearer. The intention is to use the entire 10 acres, and the reason for that is specifically because if he does not, he cannot meet that 60-40 requirement. He does know, I've spoken to him many times, that if he goes down that road and builds what he's proposing, that will obviously limit him to what he could potentially do in the future, which could be, this is a church, obviously, could be a pastor's home or residence in that back parcel eventually. That was the intention of the stub out, should he have a, you know, home back there to ultimately be able to drive up front, if he doesn't want to walk a couple hundred feet, I guess. But again, like Kelly said, I think a lot of that is clarifying that, yes, the entire 10 acres would be required. We spoke to him at a time, I think he spoke to the county, I don't know if Mac, it was you or Bob, about possibly doing institutional land use change, but ultimately he decided to go this route, so. Yeah, I think just a lot of clarity on that, satisfy a lot of the site data table questions.
Okay.
So I don't have any concerns.
Okay, any further questions for the applicant from the dais?
No, I think the engineering comments are easily addressable.
Sammy, you have any concerns about fire safety and accessibility?
Mac, I'm not sure if I've reviewed this one or not, so if you'll give me till the end of the week, I'll get this one for you.
Okay, since this is a place of public assembly, as always, the fire comments are most important for life safety. Appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
Do we have a recommended motion?
Yes, sir. A motion to conditionally approve pending resubmittal and satisfaction of comments, move it to development order.
Okay, we have a recommended motion. This is a minor development. We'll take the opportunity to open up a public hearing. Anyone in the audience wish to make a public comment related to this particular development? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. We have a recommended motion. We have a motion at the dais.
Motion to conditionally approve as stated.
We have a second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed likewise? This item is approved to move forward subject to satisfaction of comments. That brings us to item number 10, the Bannerman subdivision, request approved by minor development order. This has been reviewed by Kelly Frommeyer. Kelly, if you could briefly introduce it for us.
Certainly, this is a minor development order application submitted by Jenkins Engineering on behalf of LGM LLC for the creation of 5 single-family lots on plus or minus 2.92 acres with a zoning designation of conservation residential 2 to 1. There are some planning and environmental comments. The most significant being is we need to identify our habitat preservation areas and make sure that those are delineated on the plan. There's also potentially access easement to a lot that is behind this property that we need some clarification on and make sure that our access easement on this neighborhood does extend all the way to that property line to catch that up. But the majority of the comments I think can be addressed, just getting clarification on the plan set and working with staff. So that's what we have here.
Thank you. This is the site that the BCC recently approved a land use change.
That's correct. Yeah, the previous, I believe probably for the purposes of creating the subdivision, it previously went from residential preservation to this conservation 2 to 1 zoning.
Thank you. Any comments from the applicant?
I don't think so, Mac. I do have one question or clarification. It's not necessarily for this project. It's probably specific to any conservation residential project we come up with. I think Bill or Alex, whoever reviewed this one, had the comment about clearing limits. And I don't mean preservation limits, I actually mean the CR 2-to-1 limits in this case. And how to properly address that on a residential subdivision where we don't know where the homes will be. That's my kind of, I think we added a table that showed a max clearing limits, or amount, I should say, for each lot. I didn't know a better way to necessarily address that. They may have smaller homes, they may have a different shaped home. So, information we're not privy to right now. So I'm trying to think of the best way to, whether that's the table or.
To meet the 40% is the landscape buffers, Tony, is that meet 40% your
No,
footprint?
no. They have to actually, there's additional, Bill.
I think that was just the clarity, and I don't know
Yeah.
how you would show it either.
Yeah, I don't.
Footprints are
Gotcha.
gonna
No,
change.
it's not just the landscape buffers. There will be extra area outside that.
Does this site have actual vegetative community preservation requirements?
I didn't think it did in the EA, but environmental made the comment.
Due to its location on the 30A corridor, the size of the property does not disqualify it from meeting those preservation requirements. And the environmental comments indicated that there was habitat on this parcel that needed to be delineated on the plan set for preservation.
I mean, obviously, if there is, then we have to show that, and that handles that comment, because 50% is more than 40%, not counting any buyout.
And if,
I don't have the EA with me. I actually did not think.
Just from my perspective in reviewing the plans, just to answer your question, I understood the chart and kind of saw that as being the best way you could kind of delineate. I think that it is difficult when you're looking at kind of what you're, the unknown
Yeah.
of that.
Okay, I mean, that was.
But that is a very, like, I think it's 7,500 square feet.
Something like that.
For each lot,
It's
which,
large.
well, it's kind of for as large as these lots are in the buildable area, that is kind of a small clearing area when you look at the driveway and some of those things. So, I don't know if there's a way of looking at maybe a representative, size on the lot, just because I think it is a little deceptive when you look at the limits of what would be buildable versus the, when you're comparing the 7,500 square feet to kind of the acre lot, it seems that might need a lot of explanation for a homeowner, I guess.
We could certainly always do a typical. My concern would be, and Mac, you can probably, and this isn't just specific to this, obviously, if we show an exact building footprint, and then the homeowner wants to, a more elongated house and the same footprint, same square footage, but a different house shape, what do they have to do at the time of building permit?
Well, we got two requirements to meet. The first one is the required preservation of the existing community to protect.
And I understand that one, if it's there, and then we'll show that specifically, obviously, and that'll take care of 40% right off the bat.
As I recall from the presentation of the property owner at the time, we went through the land use change process. He was very concerned about protecting as much vegetation as possible.
Yeah.
Because he viewed that as part of the inherent value of the particular lots, given they are right on 30A, and we would certainly support that.
Yeah, and we'll certainly address that. I don't have any issue or any concerns with that.
Just the methodology and.
Yeah, and not necessarily, specific to this particular project. I'm sure this will come up again in a few months.
He is a home builder. Is he planning to build these homes himself, or is he planning to just sell the lots?
It may be 50-50. So, yeah, if he was specifically building them all, I would tell you it's no issue, obviously. But that may not be the case.
Well, that's certainly an issue to address, as we all agree, and we all know what happens once this development gets approved and it gets on the market, and every prospective owner has their own idea of what they want. We need to make sure we do a good job of providing the necessary education up front so that folks don't buy something they don't understand.
Should we do a typical with where we maybe shade out an area that shows what the clearing of each lot would be, but have some sort of note that at least gives them a little flexibility so that, quite frankly, so it doesn't have to come back before you? I mean,
Well, I think that building in some flexibility, not knowing exactly where the amount to be retained to meet the CR 2-to-1 provision will ultimately be, I mean, we're gonna be going through plating. The preservations that's required to remain will have to appear on the plat. Some clear guidance on the plat itself as to how to meet the CR 2-to-1 requirement, I think is probably the best place to put that. I mean, certainly in covenants and restrictions, but covenants and restrictions are not a document that the county is party to. I mean, we review those as part of the plat to make sure that the development order requirements are being met, but I mean, that's a contract between the parties, and it can be changed the day after it's recorded without the county involvement. So having that clearly defined on the plat and what flexibility might be available to meet that requirement, I think notes on the plat would probably be the best place to put that. And I think probably we would entertain the applicant's proposal on just how best to do that. But we got two requirements to meet, one of which has to be shown on the plat, the required preservation, and the other is the requirement that a certain amount of non-protected community vegetation be retained to meet the CR 2-to-1 requirement. That sound like a good idea, Kelly?
I think so. I do believe that the chart provided was helpful. It was very clear for me, but I knew what I was looking for, and I think that, you know, you're right. It is a lot of education on that homeowner's part, and those notes on the plat would certainly help move that forward.
That way the plat's always there, and that'll get picked up on a survey, and the intent of the county and the developer will be protected in that manner.
With that, I don't have any concerns.
Thank you. Do I have a recommended motion?
Motion to approve the minor development order pending resubmittal and satisfaction of comments.
Thank you, Kelly. Do we have a motion at the dais?
Well, motion to approve, subject to satisfactory, addressing the comments satisfactory.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. This is a minor development. We didn't do a public hearing yet, did we?
No.
No, sir.
We'll take this opportunity to open up a public hearing for Jim and Bob. Any comments? Thank you very much. We'll close the public hearing since we have no other attendees. We have a motion at the dais. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed likewise? Hearing none, motion carries. It'll move forward to development order subject to those comments. That brings us to item number 11, the White Cliffs rooftop antenna, request to approve by development order. Minor development reviewed by Kelly Freimeyer.
Yes, thank you. This one is a minor development order application submitted by C-Spire on behalf of White Cliff Condominiums, requesting the installation of a rooftop antenna and associated equipment placement inside of the attic. Property is in a village mixed-use zoning district on the south side of Highway 30A. Doesn't look like the applicant is here to represent, but the comments on this one are very, very minor, just a few. notes on the plan set that are necessary. And I don't see any reason we shouldn't be able to get that quickly resolved.
Thank you, Kelly. We do not have the applicant here. This is a minor development. We'll take the opportunity to open up the public hearing. Anyone in the audience wishing to make a comment about this particular development? Tim or Bob? Thank you. We'll close the public hearing. Any questions from the dais?
Just for a point of clarity, are these cell phone antennas, or these, they're wireless guests, or these?
I'm actually not 100% sure. From the documents that were presented, it could look like it could be cellular, but I'm not 100% clear on that.
Cellular? Yeah, I was just curious. I don't have any other questions.
It's
The
gonna
applicant
be about
provided,
a little less than 7 feet above the top of the roof elevation.
Yeah, he provided not only an elevation, a plain, very technical elevation, but also some photo rendering of what they would look like, and they've positioned them to be as minimally visible as possible, but they still will project up about 7 feet.
Again, I think we have height exceptions for these kinds of things available.
Correct. It's within those limits.
It's a minor development order. We'll take this opportunity to open up a public hearing. Anyone in the audience wishing to make a comment about this particular development? Seeing none, we'll close that public hearing. Do we have a recommended motion?
Motion.
Oh, sorry. Motion to approve the minor development order pending resubmittal and satisfaction of comments.
Thank you, Kelly. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed likewise? Hearing none, this item is approved subject to satisfaction of outstanding comments. Thank you very much. That appears to be the end of our agenda. We shall stand adjourned.